Good afternoon. I'm Brandy Freeman, the marketing communications manager at Holspire, and I'm the moderator today. On behalf of Holspire, I want to welcome you to Wisdom Wednesday. Participating in Wisdom Wednesday webinars is an opportunity for you to learn from leading experts on topics related to healthy eating, active living, communications, and more. If you've ever felt uncomfortable reaching out to your local media, then you're in the right place today. Today's webinar, Managing Media Relations, will help you find the confidence you need to work with the media. Our speaker will help you understand what reporters want in a news story and how to get the news coverage your organization needs to elevate awareness of healthy eating and active living initiatives and resources in your community. This webinar is brought to you by Healthy Blue, the official managed care organization of Holspire. We want to hear from you, so if you have any questions at any time during the webinar, please add them to the Q&A and they'll be answered at the end of this webinar. I want to welcome Jenny Dennis. Jenny is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Trio Solutions, a full-service marketing communications agency based in Mount Pleasant. She is a passionate leader with extensive experience in brand communication strategies, creating innovative marketing campaigns, attention-grabbing advertising and promotions, and compelling public relations programs. In other words, Jenny knows how to ensure an organization understands how to speak to its audience and stand out in a crowded marketplace. Jenny works directly with clients to develop and implement their marketing strategies. Holspire is one of those lucky clients. Jenny and her team led our rebranding initiatives for Holspire and the Hype Project. And I have to say that we're in great hands today. Now I will turn it over to Jenny.
All right, thank you so much. Let me just get our technology rolling here and make sure we're sharing screens and we're in mode. Okay, can you see everything okay?
Yep, we're good to go.
Okay, great. Well, hello, everybody. Like Brandy said, my name is Jenny Dennis, and I'm with Trio. And I'm coming to you from Charleston, South Carolina today. And we're going to have just a conversation about managing media relations. My goal today is for this to be interactive, like Brandy said, very informal. So if you have a question that you want to pop in the chat, and I guess, Brandy, will you be able to see those and then interrupt me as they come up, because I can't see the chat when I'm in presentation mode?
Yes, I will see all the questions that are entered in the chat and in the Q&A.
Perfect. So we can do that. And then I also just want to let you know that we are going to reserve some time at the end for kind of an experience share or a case study share. If you have an example or something that you'd like to share with the group about some success that you found in the media, we will reserve time for that, and also time for questions. So it won't take me long to kind of go through this, and let's go ahead and make sure we're getting started here. Okay, so the reason I'm sharing the slide about myself is because I do have a very unique perspective when talking about this topic, because before I worked for a full service communications agency, I'm actually a former publisher of a magazine. So I have had the privilege of being on both sides of the aisle. I've been the person receiving the information from the outside source. I've had an inbox full of press releases. I've had to make decisions on what I thought was newsworthy, on what I thought people wanted to learn about and hear about. So before, trying to get the media's attention, I was the media. And so I think that allows me to have a really unique perspective when talking to you all today. And then, of course, today I do serve as our creative director and really a strategic planner for our clients. And so a lot of that is just brainstorming and coming up with creative ideas to help grab the media's attention. I also wanted to share my email. If anybody wants to take that down after today, you are welcome to email me any additional questions that may come up for you. So what is media relations? There is a reason why they call it media relations. It's about relationships. Media relations is a small component of PR. It's not PR. It's how you interact with journalists, reporters, editors, and media outlets. It's the goal of media relations is really to build and maintain a positive, and see how I really highlighted here, mutually beneficial. It's not just about what they can do for you, but it's also about what your organization can do for them. The more mutually beneficial you can cultivate a relationship with your media partners, the more exposure and visibility you're going to get. It's designed to secure coverage that enhances visibility, credibility, and your reputation, right? Because there is, we've all heard the saying, there's no such thing as bad PR. I would disagree with that sometimes, especially in the industry, in the lane that you guys are in coming to us today. It is important to have credibility, and it is important to be a trusted partner in the community. It's also an essential part of your communication and reputation management strategy. So it's not the only piece, but it's an important piece. All right, so there's lots of benefits of media relations. The first one is increased awareness. We certainly want people to know about who you are, what your organization does, who you serve in the community, the impact that you have, the capacity that you have to offer value to the community. All of those things are important, and that can come with a strong media relations program. It also offers you an opportunity for partnerships. It allows you to demonstrate your credibility. It allows you to present yourself as a trusted partner to the community and something that they can value as a resource when they need the services and the programs that you offer. And finally, it's an opportunity for funding, for sponsorship, for donations. It's not it's not like you're going to get a news story and then you're going to get a big $10,000 donor. However, the more influence that you have with people, the more you're increasing your awareness, the more you're making them trust you, the more they understand the impact you have in the community, the more likely they are to want to support you and engage with you. So today, for the next couple of minutes, I just want to talk about the top 3 ways to engage in media relations. And we really want to look at this in kind of 3 different buckets. The first bucket is the newsroom. It's kind of how you engage with the reporters, with the journalists, because media is not just reporters and journalists. It's also events and promotions, how you deal with the sales team and the promotions team, whether it's from a TV station, a radio station, a newspaper, a magazine, etc. And the last way is positioning yourself or your organization, your team, as an expert in the field that you are providing your programs and services. So first, we're going to talk about the newsroom. And remember that when we talk about who's in the newsroom, we have, anchors, we have journalists, we have reporters. I want you to think about the role that they play. It is technically their job to report on what they believe their audience wants to hear. It's also a public service, so it's supposed to be, important information that they need to know and to have to keep their community safe, to keep the people safe, to keep them informed, to help share information. So I think a lot of times people think that, yes, while journalists and reporters and anchors and DJs and all of that, they are public servants, but it's their job to report on the news. And sometimes what we think is news, they may not think is news. And so the first question that you need to ask yourself is it newsworthy? And what's important to you in your organization may not be important to the general public all the time. And so you have to consider the effect that your news is going to have on the general public. For example, are you solving a problem that has relevance in the community, in the audience that the particular news outlet is speaking to? And when you think about the news outlets, they do have different audiences and different demographics. And that's an important takeaway here, as when I kind of give you your tips and tricks on the next slide, is to make sure you're doing your research to understand, is the information you're providing to a reporter or a journalist, does it match up with the people that they're speaking to? Because if it doesn't, there's really no reason for them to share what you have to say. So when you think about what's newsworthy, I want you to think about the following 3 things. the impact of your organization and the community outreach that you give. So let's talk about an example for that. It could be, maybe, and I'm kind of making this stuff up, but maybe you decide that you're going to do a lunchbox drive and you're going to give away lunch boxes so that hopefully kids are going to pack healthy foods in the lunchbox instead of, just getting snacks out of the vending machine. Maybe you're going to offer a back to school free workout session, and kids are going to, kids and families can come together and do a workout together, or go on a walk, or do a yoga class. So that would be kind of community outreach and impact. When we think about advocacy or awareness, I think it's a pretty common statement. Childhood obesity is on the rise, and here are some resources that parents can connect with to help if they feel that their child may be in this situation. So kind of what are the tools that you have available? What are the resources that you can share? How can you bring awareness to things that people may not know about? And then the last one is kind of crisis or emergency situations. So when I try to think about things that kind of fit into your basket, I would say, maybe there's some type of food recall, or maybe there's some sort of public safety issue, or maybe a common park where families like to get outside and be active is closed for construction, or what type of important, like, newsworthy information do you have that you could share, and then how can you pivot that to be able to also talk about your organization. And so when you think about the tools and the things that you use when you reach out to the newsroom with your newsworthy items, you want to remember that it is more than a press release. So a lot of times people say, oh, well, we wrote a press release and we emailed it to everybody we know and nobody did anything. Well, that's because it's very unlikely that you're going to get picked up if that's your only effort. And the reason they call it media relations is because it's not just send us a press release and forget it. It's how can you cultivate a relationship with these people? So one of the things that I want to encourage people to do is to research, look at the reporters that you're interested in having coverage with. Understand the area, whether it's geographic, whether it's demographic, whether it's psychographic. Who are they talking to and what areas do they cover? Make sure that you follow with them, you follow and engage with them on social media. Do not be afraid to use a DM. And if you don't know what a DM is, it's a direct message. But if you personally aren't on social media, but you're asking someone to share your information on social media, like, listen to how that sounds. They're not going to do something for you if you're not engaged with what it is that they're doing. Also, don't just connect with them when you need something. If the only time you've ever reached out to a reporter or a journalist or a DJ or a news anchor is because you were hoping that they were going to use your press release, then they probably don't even know who you are, and they're less likely to want to help you out. Don't be afraid to extend an invitation to them. Invite them to coffee, invite them to lunch, invite them to tour your facility, or if you don't actually have a storefront facility, if you're having an event, if you're having some sort of community opportunity, invite them to be a part of that. And you may be sitting here saying, well, we tried that, or we did do that. Well, don't give up. You can't it's not just a one and done. Okay. Some of the pro tips that I have for you guys on this is taking the time to build a database. It's important that you actually vet who it is that you're talking to. So we talked a little bit about research, but just, most of you don't have access, probably none of you have access to the fancy tools like a Cision or something like that. So just open up a Google sheet or an Excel spreadsheet and just put, the name of the news outlet, the name of the reporter, their email, their phone number, and maybe their social handles, and make sure that you're following with them and engaging with them, and take the time to vet that. And before you send out that newsworthy information, go ahead and double check that nothing needs to be updated on the database, because reporters and folks in those newsrooms, they move around a lot, and there's a high turnover rate. So you want to make sure that you've looked at it before you send that stuff out. Also, when you think about things that you're going to send via email, make sure that your subject line is short, intuitive, and informative. When you do have their attention, make sure that you're personalizing things and telling them why you think you're a good fit for them. Dear so-and-so, I thought of you because I recently read your article on XYZ, and I have this important information that I thought you might think is relevant. Just come right out and tell it to them. And then offer them an exclusive. If you have a specific news outlet or media outlet that you really would love to get your coverage on, then tell them, hey, we haven't shared this information or news with anyone else, and we chose you to cover it. Are you interested? Let them know they're going to be the only ones to have this information. All right, moving on to events and promotions. I just wanted to kind of get your heads thinking a little bit about types of events. We have the standard things like a gala or a race or a golf tournament or other type of outdoor event. We have, maybe like a chili cook-off or something like that. But there's a lot of unique and creative events out there. And as we get a little further in the presentation, I'm going to give you guys some tips on how you can come up with creative events. I also want to talk about the types of mediums when we think of the media outlet. Remember that you need to customize whatever it is that you're sharing to match the type of outlet that you're talking to. Like a real obvious example, if you're talking to someone at a radio station, you're not going to send them a video. What good is a video for a radio station? It's only audible. So don't just take one type of information and spread it across all the media outlets. Really think about, okay, well, who am I talking to and how do I customize that? So first of all, when we talk about promotions, a lot of times people will understand that the sales and the promotion team go hand in hand at most big media outlets. It's not that scary. Don't be so afraid that they're going to be asking you for money, or don't be afraid that you may be asking them for money. I think the most important thing to remember is that salespeople are your friend and that they have dollars set aside to be active in the community. And the more successful their promotions are and their events, the more successful they are. And so they are looking to draw just as much attention to the general public, to their specific news outlet, as you are to your organization. So there's a great opportunity for partnership there. Also understanding what has the media outlet been engaged in the past? What types of organizations do they like to support? What types of events are they really interested in? And media sponsorships can provide like invaluable visibility and resources, sometimes without even a direct monetary exchange. So when you think about sponsorships, when you think about asking maybe some talent to MC an event, think about promotional resources that they have, and really leveraging in-kind opportunities, because there is a lot of value there. And you should always want to reach out and see if you can have a connection or a meeting with them. And so a way that you can do that to be part of that solution with that sales and promotion team is separate from your reporter database and separate from reaching out to the reporters and the journalists in the newsroom. You also want to set up some sort of exploratory meeting with the promotions and / sales department at the larger, maybe TV stations or the big radio groups in your area. Don't go into it expecting to get a news story, because these people don't work in the newsroom. But there's also nothing wrong with asking them after you've had a productive meeting, hey, do you know anyone in the newsroom who may be interested in covering us? And, start to kind of massage that and feel what that, feel them out for if you could get that. So setting up the exploratory meeting. When you go, if you do get the opportunity to meet with them, have an events calendar. Be prepared to talk to them about everything and anything that you have going on this year, because as you are talking with them, you want to be brainstorming and getting creative and thinking about what are the ways that you guys can mutually help each other. So you may be going into this thinking, well, we have a big gala coming up or a big fundraiser or golf tournament. But what are the other things that you have throughout the year? Because if that one particular thing is not a match, something else could be a match, and you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So really get creative for that with them. And the don't blur the lines part is kind of what I said in the beginning. Don't go in there expecting coverage from the newsroom. They're two separate things. They may be able to help you out with one or the other, but you want to make sure that you're showing them that they're valuable to you and that you're there for a reason and not just a workaround to get free coverage. Okay. All right. So my pro tip here is ask the experts. So the experts meaning folks like myself. I know sometimes we don't always have the means or the resources or the budgets to work with a paid agency. But if you can't do that, I wish I could see a show of hands, but I would love to ask if any of you have tried ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is considered AI. I know that you've probably all heard of AI, and that AI is definitely an up and coming technology that is here to stay and is implemented in a lot of ways. But I want to encourage you, it's absolutely free to start a ChatGPT account. And the beauty of ChatGPT is it's a great inspiration source, and it's really helpful for folks like yourself that may not have any type of marketing or event experience, or maybe if you have a little, but you're a one-person operation and you just don't have the team or the resources behind you. I'll give you a couple of prompt ideas, because I think that's really what the name of the game is when you think about ChatGPT. For example, before we got on the call today, I went to ChatGPT and I asked it, give me 10 creative event ideas for a nonprofit in South Carolina that has to do with living and being healthy. And it spit out 10 creative ideas. Now, I'm not going to give them away right now. If you email me later, I'm happy to send it to you, but you can try that yourself. Now, are these, was there anything groundbreaking that I had never heard before? There actually was one or two things that I never had considered for a nonprofit event, but that's just one small prompt. You can ask it anything. Give me some language on how to reach out to my local news reporter that likes to cover XYZ. So play around with it. Remember, you don't just want to copy and paste what they put in there, because, it is ethical. It's not illegal to take anything off of ChatGPT. It is an open source platform right now, so you're not breaking any plagiarism laws or anything like that. However, you want to make sure that you're personalizing it. You want to make sure that it's authentic to how you speak and that you're using your tone of voice. I know that I shouldn't say no, but I would assume that everyone on the call has seen the Whole Spire Brand Guidebook, and you want to make sure that you're staying authentic to that. So if you're not using ChatGPT, dabble around in it and check it out. So the next part is positioning you or your organization as an expert. So one of the things I want to encourage you here is, if you've got it, flaunt it. Every one of you knows something, and you know something of value that probably the reporters or the news anchors or all the folks out there, they don't know what you know. And so by providing valuable data and sharing resources, you can become something that is really valuable to a reporter. And I want to encourage you all to develop some sort of fact sheet. It can have statistics. It can be, just a really quick overview about who you are and what you do, but then the impact that your organization is having directly on the community, the problems that you're solving, the ways that if they're covering maybe some other type of story that may not be directly related to you, that it would make sense for you to want to come in and give a quote or do an interview or be used as like a hyperlink or an additional resource for folks reading about whatever it is that they're covering. Offer to speak at public events. Back to school is fresh in my mind because my kids went to school today. And I do think that there's lots of events out there. I remember getting an email from the Charleston County School District that said, hey, we're going to have this like outside, back to school kickoff thing, and people can come and learn about where your bus stop is going to be and meet your teacher and like do all these things. And, you could have a table there, or maybe if there's going to be a podium, you could get 15 minutes to speak, or reach out to your local PTAs, the parent teacher organizations, and see if they're having open house night. Like, try to think of places that you can offer to come and speak. And then when you're going to be speaking, if you've cultivated a relationship with the local media, let them know about it. They may not put you on the 6 o'clock news, but they might share it on their Twitter, or I guess I'm supposed to be saying on their X account now. So don't discredit or think that, something, because it's not front page story, that if you've got a good relationship with the media, that it's not information that they would be willing to share. Also, be camera ready. Be camera ready all the time. And I don't just mean by the way that you look. I mean more like you've rehearsed some things in your mind. Have that quote ready that if you're not available, a volunteer or an administrative person can go ahead and forward that off to them. If if you have a weekly meeting with your team or something like that, talking about, hey, who are we reaching out to? What are the important stories that are covering? What's happening in the government? What's happening in Columbia? What's happening in the communities and in the schools? And be prepared to talk about that with expertise, with what makes you uniquely qualified to speak to whatever it is that they're talking about. And one of the last things that I want to just bring to your attention is it's not always love at first sight. Okay. You've got to be patient. Think about every relationship that you have in your life. And maybe some of you are lucky that you did have a love at first sight situation, or maybe the first time you met your BFF, you just knew it was meant to be, but that's not always the case with these things. So be patient. If they tell you no, it's okay. Don't be mad. Don't be judgmental. Don't give up. Keep doing it. Respect their deadlines. If they do acknowledge you, if they do go to lunch, if they do go to coffee, if they do share on social, if you share something on social and they follow you, if they give you a thumbs up, tell them thank you, acknowledge it. Let them know that you saw that they made an effort. Be available. Don't send someone your cell phone number and then not answer the phone. And then the last thing is share. Whatever they do for you, share it. If they share it on their social, you reshare it on your social. You put it in your newsletter and you add them to your database. You let them know that you are maximizing exposure of what they've done, because it's not just sharing what they've done for you. You're also maximizing their exposure, and they want exposure. Reporters want to be known. Anchors want to be known. They have, goals and objectives just like we do. So finally, it's something that you need to consider. This is a process and it takes time. So you do have options. You can either, decide how valuable your own time is, meaning you've got to put in the work. And if you can put in the work yourself, great. And if you can't, certainly TRIO, and there's lots of other agencies out there and firms that are uniquely qualified to help you guys depending on what area of the state that you're in. But you got to invest it. So it's either coming from the time or the external resources, but it's not just, well, we wrote our press release and nothing happened. And that is really my biggest takeaway for everyone today. Is I hope you got some valuable information, but I also want to make sure that you understand it's an investment. It's an investment in a relationship that the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, and the better the payoff. So with all of that, I'm going to pass it over to Brandy, because I know that she has an experience share and she wants to talk a little bit about some success that Holzfire has had with the media.
All right. Thank you so much, Jenny. I'm going to stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
I think I'm going to do that.
Oh, do I have to do it? I might have to.
Do you mind?
Sure. Let's see here. Did that? Oh no, stop share. There you go.
There we go. All right. So very quickly, I want to touch on some very good points that Jenny made. Let's see, how can okay. So I am in the process. Jenny made some fantastic points and validated a lot of things that I have experienced in my 11 years at Holzfire. We send out press releases to the media about a variety of different campaigns. Like when we award HEAL mini grants, we send out a press release announcing who we awarded and give us a brief description of their projects. And every time I do this, in my mind, I'm like, they are so not going to pick this up. This is not, but I do it. And lo and behold, there is some rural, small, local newspaper that picks it up. It may not be in their printed newspaper, but it's on their website. And so it does happen. They do use the information that you send them. I am currently writing an article for our upcoming newsletter about Knights Hill community in Camden. And we awarded them a HEAL mini grant last year. I've just recently interviewed the president of that community organization, William Robinson. And one of the first things he did when he kind of started to lead this organization and they got the HEAL mini grant, he went straight to his local media. He reached out to the Chronicle editor, invited him for coffee, and they had a conversation about the Knights Hill community and the park within their community. And they actually ended up going to the park, and he showed the editor around. And the editor actually, they ran a front page story on the Knights Hill Park. And so that really helped them raise awareness about their community organization within Camden or Kershaw County. So Jenny said, it's not all, you don't always need something from them. Like you want to set up those meetings and introduce yourself and your organization and let the media know that you're here. It's very important for awareness of your organization, and it can lead to some additional funding opportunities down the road, which is happening for the Knights Hill community. Since I've been at Holzfire, we have not been consistent with getting media coverage on our news stories until recently. With our media advocacy campaign around the Free School Meals for All bill at the State House that Senator Katrina Shealy is sponsoring. Phil Ford is our advocacy and policy consultant, and he spends his days at the State House talking to partners, legislators, and even the media, because almost all of the larger news outlets have a State House reporter, and they spend their days at the State House getting that information and that news to put out to the public. And Phil has done a great job with creating those media relationships that we need. We started to get media coverage. They started to use our name in their reports. They started to reach out to us and ask for interviews, and we very kindly and promptly worked with them because we do respect their deadlines. Meg made herself available for these interviews. If it was more appropriate for a chapter to take on an interview, we definitely will send them to the chapter. But primarily Meg is our spokesperson, and I handle the contacts. So if a member of the media reaches out to us, and they have quite a bit lately, I drop what I'm doing and I reach out to Meg and say, hey, so-and-so in Spartanburg WSPA wants an interview about S148. Can you do it today? And then she'll take over from there and coordinate and set up the interview appointment. But
Can I say one thing about that, Brandy?
Yeah.
You make a really good point about Meg stopping what she's doing. Remember, the news isn't going to stop. So if you say no, they're going on to the next person. And if the next person says yes, who do you think they're going to call next time? So just remember that, unless you are, really, really unable to, for, whatever reason, try to just, if you got to reschedule a meeting or pull over on the side of the road and take the call, it'll be worth it. It'll pay off.
It does. And Meg says it's not always convenient.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what we do because it's important for us to be seen as the expert, or at least one of the experts on healthy school environments, healthy eating and active living. Yeah, so another good point Jenny made is social media engagement. We do a lot of our media relations, our engagement with the media on Twitter, or now it's known as X, because that's where they are. That's where the media are. They're sharing the stories that they cover. We've had some members of the media like our post around the S-148 bill, which is fantastic. I get so excited. Like all this hard work, and it pays off in the end. So when we do know, when we have those interviews, or whether it's on video via Zoom or on the telephone, we know when we ask when the story's going to run. We watch it on our TVs or on their websites once they post it. And then the next day, I get on Twitter and Facebook and I look, because we follow those reporters, and I look and see if they posted the story. And if they have, I like it and I comment, "Thanks for covering this story." It's as simple as that. You don't have to get into the details of, why this is important. They covered it, so it must be important, right? And so I don't usually share. Well, yes, I do. I share their stories because I want it on our social media. But yeah, that's social media is really important with letting the reporters know that you're paying attention and you value that partnership with them.
I have one other benefit to that. If a reporter or a news outlet shares your information, pay attention to if you get any new followers or if you get any new people that engage with you, and make sure you acknowledge that they're there. So, right away, if you see 1 or 2 new people that have come on your Facebook or Instagram or X or whatever it is, go back and kind of see what's on their page, see what they've posted recently, maybe like something that they've posted so that they stay. And you've got a new captivated person,
Yes, definitely. And media advocacy on social, it helps with your followers. We have actually gotten more followers on Twitter this year. I'd like to think that it's partly due to the media coverage that we've received, and the accolades we get from our partners. And we've gotten quite a bit more engagement with our followers. So that tells me that we're playing an important role, and they see us as an expert in this area because of all this work that we're doing. So don't give up. It's hard. It can be a long road, but don't give up. Get those press releases out. Monitor the media. Look at their websites. Do a Google search. You can use Google Alerts to alert you if your organization name or your name pops up in the news online.
That's a really, really good point that I should have included in there. Google Alerts are definitely important.
Yeah.
If you literally Google how to set up a Google Alert, it's very easy if you don't know how, and it will tell you exactly how to do it.
Yeah. And that's how I find out about all the media coverage we get, because there are some coverage that you're just not going to know about. But
you
yeah.
can also do a Google Alert for your competitors and see what they're doing, and even topics that are relevant to you, because if they're talking about those topics and you can provide an interview or a quote or insight, then that's going to be helpful. And I know I said make sure you personalize your correspondence, but when you are getting out those press releases, don't send them in a bulk email. Don't BCC all of your reporters. Take the time to send them out as individual emails dear so-and-so, and, right out of the gate, tell them why this information is important for them. Show what you're going to do for them before you ask what they can do for you.
Yeah. So we don't have any questions posted at this point, but from the audience, but I do have a question for you, Jenny.
Okay.
It's something that I struggle with sometimes. When I do send press releases out, there's so many different reporters at, let's say, TV stations, for instance. We know we had the State House reporter, so I'm going to reach out when anything having to do with legislative work. I'm going to reach out to those already established reporters. But when I'm sending something that's not specific to legislative work, who do I send it to? I mean, there's like editors, many reporters, anchors, like who do can you help me with that?
Yeah, I think it's important to try your best to see, it does take a little bit of extra due diligence, but see what it is that those reporters typically report on. There's a lot of like very common, like there's usually a business editor and a lifestyle editor and probably, a food editor. I know you do have a lot to do with types of food, but usually the food editor is like, they're talking about new restaurants in town, right? So unless you have like a spin on the best way to help them, they're probably not going to be interested in a new piece of legislation that passed about what's going in a school lunch, right? So think about, is it appropriate for whoever that you're sending it to? The other thing too is sometimes you can call and ask. There is a general, like reception answer when you call some of like the big newspapers, especially like the state newspaper or like the Post and Courier or something like that. And you could ask them, hey, can you tell me who typically reports on XYZ? And they'll usually give you a name and an email. Make sure that whoever you're sending it to, that you've actually read something that they've written before, because sometimes, you want to make sure that it's in alignment with what it is that you want to say as well. Sending it to general reporters, you're probably not going to get as much success as people that have typically covered certain types of things in your area before. And reporters and editors are different, right? Because reporters are coming out and they're constantly changing what it is that they're talking about or reporting on. Whereas an editor, if it's a business editor or a lifestyle or the health and fitness editor, they're typically going to be talking about those same topics over and over again. So I do think that you make a good point. Just a blanket, if you're looking at every contact at a particular outlet and you're just sending it to all of them, I also think that they pick up on that kind of stuff as well, because they do have daily meetings and they sit around and they talk. I shouldn't say sit around like they're not busy, but they come together every day and they say, okay, well, what are you covering? What are you covering? What's important to you? What are you going to write? And if someone says, oh, well, I got the press release from Holzfire, and then someone's like, yeah, I got it too, or, whatever. It's not so much that that's a bad thing, but I do think that people want to feel exclusive, especially in the media world. And if they feel like you have sought them out because you truly believe they're the best person for the job, they're going to be more likely to pick that up. And that's why I said it's important, it's really about quality and not quantity when you think about how many contacts you need to have in a specific outlet.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jenny, thank you for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate it and the great information that you provided. I actually learned some new things today, and look forward to using the information you shared with us. So we want to get everyone's thoughts on today's webinar. So if you could please take a few minutes to complete the survey that will pop up on your screen once the webinar is ended. We'd greatly appreciate that. We look forward to seeing you at our next Wisdom Wednesday webinar on September 27th, when we'll be talking about disability inclusion. So you can look for registration links on our website and our social media platforms. You can go to holzfire.org and find all that great information. And this webinar will be posted on our website by the end of the week. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Jenny, have a great rest of the week.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here. Bye.
Bye-bye.